Okay, guys, we're going to start our next painting. We finished our black and white painting. We've done our color chart. I'm going to talk a little bit about color today, and we're going to work on this particular painting. I skipped over some information about cleanup. We'll talk about this also. We talked about this also with the color chart, but just to make sure, I've got my glass palette here. And one of the things I do as far as cleaning is I just take a palette knife and I scrape off any of the paint that I had before. Once I've scraped off the paint on my palette knife, then I can wipe it off, throw this away, and then I just buff my glass palette. That's for those of you with glass palettes. If you have a disposable palette, you have the pad of disposable sheets, all you have to do is just rip that out, fold it up, throw it in the trash, and you're good, okay? That way we can go ahead and get started. We're moving on to something just a little bit more difficult. We've got a apple here, and of course, you know, doing some practice as far as your sketching is going to help. It's very similar to a ball. So I can just start out with a ball, kind of like this. And apples have kind of shoulders, okay? So one of the things I'm going to do is almost like, you know, kind of like a little bit larger ellipse up there at the top. And then that's going to help me kind of darkening this. It's a lot darker in my sketchbook than what you would have, because I want to make sure that you guys can see it because the lighting in here is kind of wonky. Trying to get that little dimple in there and then the stem coming out. As you can see, there's a little indentation and the stem is coming out. I'm trying to figure out how to make that work. It can be a little tricky for those of you who haven't done much drawing for a while. So when we're looking at that, we really can't see all the way down to the base of that, where that stem is coming out, because there's the front side of its little shoulder. So I'm just going to just kind of make that little lump right there. And then the actual base of that stem, I can't see it. It's down kind of like inside. So it's just going to come out kind of like that, okay? Looks pretty good. If you want to try to develop this and think about like how this thing is structured, you know, one of the things we can think about is like how there's almost kind of like little latitudinal lines, you know, going through this. And even to make things look, you know, very round, I can you can see how these lines kind of curve over the surfaces. Make them a little bit darker so you can see them on this computer. And that's something that you can practice with. It makes it feel just a little bit more round, okay? Do a little bit of that work in your sketchbook in preparation for this day. If you have time right before class or before when we start this painting, either starting at home or in class, you might, you know, just take a second just to do like a little bit of sketching. Okay, so just to be clear on what it is that we're going to be doing with this. This is a painting that we're going to work with using only analogous colors. We're not using any black, we're not using any white, just analogous colors. And these are colors that are close together on the color wheel, and we'll figure out like how this works. For many of you, you already know what complementary colors are. This is something that was covered when you were in middle school or elementary school. And I've got a little color chart here. So of course, complementary colors are going to be colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel. So green is right across from red, orange is right across from blue. Okay, those are complementary colors. Analogous colors, it may be a term that you're not familiar with, okay? It's just like in speech when we talk about making an analogy. It means like we're making a comparison to something. We're using things that are very similar to each other to kind of flesh out their meaning. And we're doing the same thing with the paint. So what we're going to do with this little green apple that we have here, you can see, I'm going to pull him over here a little bit and try to get him there in front of the canvas so that you can see that he's green, but he's not kind of grass green. He's kind of a yellowish green, okay? And so, put it back over here. And so what I'm going to do to try to figure out what colors I can use, the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what his basic color is, okay? So he's a yellow-green, so he's going to be like right in here, okay? And then to paint this, making it lighter and darker, I can use any colors that are close to that look similar, okay? So next to yellow-green is yellow. Next to yellow-green is green, and going down blue-green, and then possibly even all the way down to blue, okay? So all of these colors are related, and they're close together on the color wheel, and those are the colors we're going to be using to make him. He is sitting on an orange cloth, okay? And so when we look at orange, orange is over here on this side, and we can see that orange, next to orange is yellow, orange, and yellow. So we've got yellow again, but it's going down in here to red, orange, and red, okay? So those are the colors that we're going to be able to use to make that orange cloth. Now, this is going to be just a little bit of a stretch for you guys, especially for those of you who are used to using complementary colors and you want to like get in there and put that stuff in there, please. We'll just, this is a color exercise. We're going to do that next. That's our next painting. And we're just going to see like how far we can push these colors and come up with something that looks three-dimensional. Okay. So I've got a small canvas this time. I'm going to try to pull this over here just a little bit more so that way it's a bit bigger. Okay. And of course I've got my brushes that are, nice and clean. And I have my palette knife. So one of the things I'm going to do is the first thing I want to do is I want to try to make that green, for the apple. So I've got here on my palette, I've got some cadmium yellow light and some ultramarine blue. And as we played around with our color chart, we know that ultramarine blue is a really strong color. So I'm using a little tiny bit. And even though I used a small amount, look how dark it is, okay? It's definitely, well, it's not too bad, okay? I think I can actually get away with this. I think that's gonna work. So I'm going to go with my little round brush again. Once more, wetting my bristles to get started. In art terminology, this basic color of the object, it's also known as its local color, just like, local artist or, locale. Well, not locale, but, just the same way. It's the local color. So I'm going to make this this apple here, and once again I want to make him life size, okay? And by that means that if I picked up this apple and put him right here, I want that apple on my canvas to be the same size as this. Okay. He's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Okay, so I start out with my circle. And I've put those like little shoulders there. So I've got his basic shape, okay? Now, thinking about where that dip comes for his stem, I can do some measuring. I can kind of eyeball it. I know it's not going to be down here in the middle, and it's not going to be like way up here. It seems like it's like right about there. A lot of times you put things down and then you stop and you take a look, okay, and make a judgment on how that looks. We're only going to use analogous colors for this. No black, no white, okay? When it comes time to do the stem, you can get creative with the stem, you know, as long as it's about the same value. So that means not a yellow stem, you know, but it could be like purple. Just as long as, you know, it's something that's close. I'm going to go ahead and put that stem in, just kind of like a little placeholder. So he already looks like an apple. And just like when we were painting our ball with the black and white painting, I can see that there's light on one side and something dark on the other. So I'm gonna put this brush down here for a second. I've got a nice, you know, kind of basic green here. And I'm gonna take some of this green over to one side. And to make something darker there on that left side, I have to think about what I've got here on my color chart. You know, if this is yellow green, and I can see that going down in this direction, things seem to be getting darker. Yellow is in the opposite direction. So I'm going to use a little bit more blue. And I'm going to paint it on that left side. Paint's a little stiff. So I picked up some water. This is thin, but that way I can kind of experiment with my color. Okay, and now I'm going to, I'm pretty happy with where the dark stuff is. Now I need to make some like kind of medium green going on, and I think I'm going to make something just a little bit lighter. So I'm going to, that original green that I used for my drawing, I'm going to put some more yellow in it. Guys, I have the luxury of having more than one palette knife. So I just switched off to a new palette knife, and that way I didn't have to stop and clean things up. I try to keep things moving. You don't want to waste all of your time just talking on this video. Okay. So I'm going to use this yellow green kind of color, and I can see that it's on the light side. And I can also see that it's kind of running around the top of that stem, okay? So there's my yellow. I'm gonna go back with my darker color. Just kind of work that in just a little bit more. So it looks like a kind of a clumsy paint by number, just light and dark, okay? Now I want to try to figure out what's going on with that stem or down there where it's going. And what I've got is some dark that is coming along on this side, and then it's lighter on the other side. So kind of lost my stem, but I can always get it back. How's that? Okay. What do you think, guys? Looks like he's coming along. Now we're still just kind of reduced to just light and dark. I would like to go ahead and do some more of that, but I think I need to work on the orange first, because if I kept working on this apple until I was just absolutely happy with it, it was just perfect, and then I put the orange around it and I realized that I made it too light or I made it too dark, because right now I'm just comparing this color that I've come up with here against just plain old white canvas, and it could be deceiving me. So at this point, I need to go grab a few more brushes. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and then I'll come back and we'll make the orange. Okay, so just a little. Okay, all right, I'm back. I have made some orange that I'm not unhappy with. It's a little hard to see. Oh, look, it almost disappears when I hold it up next to the cloth. Good job. Okay, so I've got some of that, and I'm going to be working with orange and the cast shadow. And in a perfect world, I'd be working with complementary colors, but that's against the rules for this particular painting. So what I have to do is I have to take a look here at this orange and think about where I can go. Okay, so I've got some red orange here, which pretty much corresponds with our cadmium red. That's that tomato red color. But just in case I can't get it quite as dark as what I would like, especially like right under the apple where the apple is coming in contact with the orange cloth, I could go all the way down in here and I'm getting down into the violet area. And that means I can use my alizarin crimson, which is that kind of wine red color. Okay, so I've got that out on my palette also. I've got my palette knife with my orange here, and I have picked up some new brushes, some clean brushes to work with. Not that one. I think I'll work with this one. Okay. So once again, dampen my bristles. Take that last drip off. And I'm going to go ahead and use this for my drawing. And I can even like kind of wrap this around a little bit. So once again, it looks like my cast shadow is coming out like right about the 5 o'clock point. And right now I've got it kind of coming down here. And then I look over at the other side and it looks like it's about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that. And the shadow's so nice and big that it's just kind of rolling right off of the page, off my canvas. I have a bit of space here from the base of my apple to where the cast shadow is forward. And when I look at that, it's just like the barest little thin thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just make that, just climb right up there. Okay. Okay, I'm happier with that. I'm going to go ahead and put some more of this orange that I've made. Kind of wrap it around the apple. The drawing of my apple, the edges were just a little fuzzy. I'm not quite sure exactly where they end, so I'm kind of like pulling them in just a bit, just to make sure that I've got a nice edge. I'll put all of this on and I'll show you. Okay, so now he's completely surrounded by the orange, and now I need to come up with a dark orange, something that I can put in here for the cast shadow. So I've got my orange that I used, and I'm going to take some just off to one side. I'm not going to do it completely because I need like backup. I want to do it like little bit by little bit. Picking up some more of this cadmium red, that tomato red color. And it's something that's darker, okay? It's darker, but it's definitely redder, okay? So I'm gonna play with this a little bit. I'm gonna put some of this alizarin in there, see what happens. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there we go, all right? And this brush had orange on it, which my cast shadow has orange in it, so I can just go ahead and use this. Okay. So I've got a cast shadow here. It looks very red, okay? This is a very vibrant kind of painting. I'm also gonna put like a little bit of dark stuff under him. So I'm gonna pick up, this is a kind of a big clumsy brush to do it, but it just happens to be what I've got here, okay? And I'm gonna pick up some of the alizarin crimson for that really, really dark line that's right there under the apple. So there's my nice dark color. Okay, so now he looks like he's set down really nice and solid, okay? So, and as it's working, I think I'm liking this. I think it's coming up pretty well. I don't see that I have to do like a lot of work changing things for the green apple. I'm going to switch back, picking up my apple brushes, okay? I know that, I have just a ton of brushes, and you guys may only have 3 or 4, okay? So it's going to take you just a little bit of doing to work with this. And just as a little aside, when you're working with your brushes, everybody has a different taste in brushes. So some people, really like round brushes, like the one that I was using, like something like this. And for me personally, I like the flat brushes, okay? So that means that they're kind of like this, okay? I find that I end up with a ton of these things, okay? They're all pretty much the same. This one I haven't used yet, okay? I just like the feel of them. I can't predict what it is that you're going to like. What you're going to need to do is get yourself some brushes, 3 or 4, and then just keep experimenting with them and see which ones that you like. Okay, so I've got, I'm kind of lost. I forgot. This one definitely looks dark. This definitely looks light. So I think I'm going to leave that for like the lightest light. I'm going to just put that down for a second. And I'm going to try to work with this and come up with just like a little bit more colors. So This is a little piece of canvas paper. It's kind of buckling on me. It's kind of annoying me, but I'm working my way around it. I'm still trying to keep my brush strokes nice and short, okay? Generally speaking, when you have a form like this apple, you want to keep your brush strokes to the length no more than a third of the length. So I don't find myself in there, you know, trying to be efficient, speeding things up. Even in the background, I want to work kind of in one direction and then another direction. That will keep the attention on this illusion of that we're creating on this painting, and not so much on like this expressive brushwork that we've got going on. Okay, all right. I'm going to see if I can pick up the canvas. All right. So some of the things that I've done is I have blended just a little bit more here on this edge. The the dark part of the apple was actually kind of like rolling along this edge right in here, okay? And so I've just kind of blended that edge just by putting like a little bit more of the yellow on this side, a little bit more of the green on this side. And it's working out pretty well, okay? I'm not unhappy with it. Here for this little dip, you know, where the stem is going to go back here in a second, notice how the edge that I have here on the forward part of that dip, it's rather distinct, okay? We can clearly see where that edge is. And then on the back side, it's a little fuzzy, okay? And that's because that edge is something that we're seeing, like, you know, that it's actually dipping down. And so we're seeing a really clear edge. In art terms, we call that a hard edge, okay? And so we have that hard edge here in the front. And then in the back, we have a soft edge. It's kind of fuzzy, it's a little blended. And so that gives us the idea that there's something kind of like rolling, you know, from the back toward the front. And that's working out pretty well. So I'm going to pick up just, you know, something that I've got, you know, look, I found myself a nice little short brush. I look at my palette and I find something that's dark, okay? Because when I'm looking at this apple, you know, he's got a nice dark stem there. And you might look at it and say, oh, but Anita, it's brown. Or, you know, what can I do? Well, you can make brown. You know, brown works out pretty well if you just mix some orange and blue together. That makes a pretty good brown. But I'm going to just take a look at my palette and see what I've got. I happen to have some alizarin crimson. That's that wine red kind of color that you can see right here. And then back here in the corner, I have some ultramarine blue. So I'm going to, and I don't have really a lot of either one of them. So I'm going to take a little bit of the alizarin and some of the ultramarine blue. I'm basically making violet. And I'm going to really carefully make a stem. Now to make this stem, I don't want to paint the entire thing first. I want to paint almost like like a little tiny wire inside it that's as thin as I can, okay? And I've got a small brush. Starting to work with this, it may feel like my hand isn't steady. You know, when we're drawing, you know, with a piece of paper, we can rest our hand on the tabletop, and that gives us support for our arm, for our wrist, and we can hold our hand more in a very steady way. But working in this direction, you know, it feels a little insecure. You know, our hand is kind of shaking. So I'm going to do something to support my hand with another paintbrush. It's a clean brush, and I'm just going to put this handle kind of right over here on this piece of cardboard that I've got my canvas paper taped to. I'm just going to kind of steady it right there, and then I'm going to put my hand right on that brush handle. And there's my first little try. You see him? And let's see if I can up a little bit more. Okay. And this will do, okay? I'm going to, let's see if I can. I'm going to shift this around a little bit, maybe. That way you got a little bit more light. Okay, can you see that? I hope so. And I'll shoot a photo of this and post it up on this assignment page also so that you can see this. Now at this point, I can continue painting. I'm pretty happy with this, okay? I can continue filling in more orange in the background working with that, and then my painting is done, okay? Nice little quick study in Analogous colors. Okay.